Alright, so I have the AGT Industrial H12 and I have a leaky motor. I've had to take a couple panels off here. They were pretty simple to take off, 13 millimeter, half-inch wrenches, took those screws out. The motor sits right there. Some of those bolts are only hand tight. 8 millimeter Allen head, kind of a long bit. I'm going to use the Ryobi wrench to get it out of there. It seems to reach down, if I can see, and get on where I need it to go. So I'm going to pull this off. I believe there's something loose underneath. I'm losing fluid. Should be pretty simple. I'll try to update in a little while. Okay, so I took these 4 bolts out. They came out real easy. It looks like this whole thing is going to lift out of there really easy. It's not hard to pull out. It looks like the gear and everything underneath is going to pull out with it. So I need 17 millimeter wrenches to take these hoses loose, and I should have this thing out. It really is only taking a few minutes. Now, to keep this machine from moving, I did put the bucket on the ground, and I did slightly raise the back end of it just to stabilize it, since I'm taking the gear out from underneath it. I didn't want it to rotate on me. Okay, pulled right out of that hole. Very simple job. I kept the top hose on top over there and the bottom hose below it so I could tell which was which. This is the motor that came out. See if you can read these numbers clearly. BM2 CJT 250. And it has a production number, but I'm not sure that's important. But that is the motor that is in the H12 swivel. At least it's in my 2024 H12 swivel. I'm going to check these bolts under here and make sure everything is tight, and see if I can put it back without having to replace it. Okay, so I have not put a wrench on this at all. I grabbed a long Allen head to see, and these are spinning. There's no effort in this at all. They are free spinning. They're not even hand tight. I'm gonna say that's the reason it's leaking. Every one of them are less than hand tight. I'm going to torque down on this a little bit, maybe tighten this screw here as well, and put this thing back together, see if I'm still leaking. I did have to tighten this bolt on the end as well. I think it was a 13 millimeter. It was loose. I haven't found too much of anything that's been tight on this machine. I'm going to put this thing back together and see what we have. Once again, numbers. If these help somebody, then it's worth doing. Okay, so that motor set right back down in there really easily. The bolts all tightened up. I tightened them up with a 3/8 inch drive ratchet. This Allen head with the ball on the bottom, that is the only way to do this. Some of this you have to go at from an angle. I got this set at Arbor Freight. Came with several. It was $16.99, 17 bucks. Definitely worth the price. Easy fix. Everything is tightened back up. My study tells me that it probably should have gotten Loctite on it, although it has lock washers. And I may be doing this again soon, but definitely not a job that you should be afraid to do, even with mediocre mechanical skills. So as I'm putting this machine back together, I realized that somebody may have a question on this choke here, because you have to remove this panel. This knob, it just screws on there. Real simple. She's almost back together now. Okay, so I put this back together and used it for a few minutes. Don't see any fresh spots of oil. I don't know, maybe. I've got a drip. Okay, so here I am with the H12 again. Tightened everything up, got everything back together. Took a victory lap. I thought I had this thing beat. It's leaking. It is still leaking from the bottom of this motor. Maybe a bad O-ring. Don't know. I may carry it to the hydraulic shop. But the good news is, it's really, really easy to get it out of there. Stay tuned. Okay, so this motor is back out. It's on the table, obviously, on the bench. I pulled this gear off here. It's keyed, so it took a little bit of effort to get that off of there. When I tightened it down before for being loose, I pinched the O-ring pretty badly, which means it blew out, and then when I tightened the screws, it destroyed it. This O-ring I picked up at the local Caterpillar dealership. If it means anything, he told me it's a size 138. So now it's got a brand new O-ring on it. This is what's inside it. There's nothing to it. We did make a mark to make sure we got it back on there the same way it came off. But I'm going to put the screws back in, put the gear back on, and we're going to try this again. Okay, so the last part of the video, I put it all back in there, started it up with the new gasket I got from Caterpillar. There is no leak. We are fixed. We're ready to go back to work.